First, we're going to go over the comparison between Wesley and Ramon, and we'll do that pose by pose.
Fala aí, marombada, suavidade demais, um vídeo se iniciando por aqui, tô aqui direto da Dark House, meu mano. Mas, rapaziada, saiu uma notícia importante que eu tenho que passar aqui pra vocês. Como vocês estão vendo aqui, eu tô na Dark House, então eu não consegui fazer um vídeo ali legal em casa, mas eu vou passar aí a tradução de que o Old School Maromba News fez sobre o feedback de Tyler Mannion, vice-presidente da IFBB Pro League, sobre a disputa de Ramon Dino e Wesley Vissers, onde a nossa fera brasileira acabou ficando em segundo lugar. Sem mais enrolação, usa cupom RAFA lá na Integral Médica para dar aquela moral e fica aí ligado no que Tyler disse sobre o nosso Ramon Dino.
Tyler Mannion here, Vice President of the NPC and IFBB Pro League. And today we're going to be going over the recap for the Classic Physique division of the Arnold Classic. First, we're going to go over the comparison between Wesley and Ramon, and we'll do that pose by pose. Now, before we go into it, I think this is a good lesson for all competitors that you don't have to have the same structure as everybody else to win a show. As you know, Wesley's waist is definitely a little bit wider than Ramon's, than Chris's, than even, Urs and Breon. However, Wesley has now built up his shoulders and his width so much to compensate for that, where he has a very, very crazy shape and taper as well. So all shapes and sizes can come in and do very well in this Classic Physique division. Now let's get to the poses. First up is the front double bicep pose. Now, here in pre-judging, which is where the judging takes place. Now again, guys, Classic Physique judging, it takes place in the morning. At night is a confirmation round where we relook at everything, okay? But the real judging is done in the morning for Classic Physique. Now, in the morning, Wesley straight up nailed it. Everything was crisp. Every line was deep, okay? In that front double bicep, he is taking up more space on the stage than Ramon. His taper is just as good. His arms are even better. His chest is full. His quads are taking up the same amount of space as Ramon's, and the cuts and the lines are much, much deeper. Overall, top to bottom, he is balanced, and he looks better than Ramon in this pose. Ramon, for me, looked a little bit downsized. He also did not have clear separation in his quads. He also hurts himself with his posing. He does not bring his arms up the way he needs to bring them. He stops short. His arms are too low, which affects his taper and affects how his lats pop out. His posing hurts him considerably in a lot of these poses. Next up is the side chest pose. Now in the side chest, you can see Wesley made big improvements in his side leg. His side leg, his hamstring is now more balanced to his quad. Upper body-wise, his chest was extremely full. His arms and shoulders were very, very big. And when you compare it to Ramon, he has more width across the top from shoulder to shoulder. His chest is thicker, his arms look better, and his side leg is comparable. Same thing here with Ramon. He likes to shrug his back shoulder up to try to push his chest over, which hurts him when it comes to his width from up top. He's always moving around in his pose. He does not stay static, which tends to make people mess up their posing. And for him, he definitely hurts himself here as well. Again, the cuts and the separation, Wesley had much more detail than Ramon as well. So right now, I have it 2-0 in poses for Wesley. Next up was the back double bicep pose. Now, the back double bicep pose in the morning, Wesley's back, it had a lot of depth. The taper was great. His shoulder and arms were big, separated, and detailed. Now you go down to his lower body. Yes, does he need more hamstrings and glutes? This is definitely the main critique for his physique. However, in the morning with the conditioning, his hamstrings were separated and fuller, and it was enough for me to give him the nod in this back double bicep pose over Ramon. Now, why was it enough? Is because Ramon, his back, the width of it did not compare really to Wesley's. His depth was not great as well. He was pinching a lot through his traps, not opening up his lats all the way. I think that definitely hurt him in this pose. Now, lower body-wise, his legs are thicker and more complete than Wesley's. However, again, the conditioning compared from Wesley to Ramon, it was pretty differentiated with Wesley being more conditioned and more separated. So overall, top to bottom again, Wesley won this pose for me, and it was 3-0. The next up is the ab and thighs pose. This pose I gave to Ramon. Wesley's abs are not separated and detailed like his. He kind of crunches down a little bit too much. So Ramon has great abs, especially when he blows all the air out. The abs are deep and separated. He pulled the vacuum pretty well, actually. Now, his quads still did not have the same type of separation that they needed to, but overall, when you look at the flow of the pose, he was better than Wesley here, which would make it 3-1. And then we get into your favorite classic pose. Again, Ramon hurts himself with this pose. He does not open up all the way. He doesn't raise his arm where he's making the bicep flex. He does not raise it up the way he should. He sinks down into the pose. He's not getting his lats out all the way. His quads were not as separated as they needed to be here. Wesley standing right next to him. His chest was full. His arms look great. His shoulder looks great. His width looks great. And his quads are separated and taking up just as much as room on stage as Ramon's. So 4-1 for me. Wesley took this from Ramon. I think for Wesley, the main focus for him is hamstrings and glutes to complete his physique for the Olympia. He needs to bring this trademark conditioning and fullness that he just brought to this show. I've judged Wesley quite a few times, and he has bounced around when he has not peaked right. He's done great, and he's done not so great. So this just shows you that we see what we see on the day of the show. It doesn't matter what happened previously. This guy was 7th at the Olympia, and he just beat the reigning Arnold Classic champion and reigning 2-time runner-up at the Olympia because he made improvements with his physique, and he nailed it on that day. When it comes to Ramon, I was able to find Ramon backstage and really work on him with his posing because his posing holds him back big time. It doesn't matter who it's against, any of these guys. He's not posing to his potential. Finally, I got to work with him, and it's amazing just backstage after the finals what a difference changing some of his poses made to his physique. But also going forward, he needs to add the size back on that he had. He needs to add more density, especially to his back. That was one of his main focuses. Width and density to his back, but just overall the size and the separation that we saw him bring prior to this, he needs to get back to that level and exceed it if he wants to win and be contending to win for Mr. Olympia title.
Mas e aí? Você concorda? Discorda? O que achou do posicionamento de Tyler? Comenta aqui embaixo, quero saber. Chegou até aqui, me dá aquela moral, se inscreve, cupom Rafa lá na Integral Médica. Te vejo no próximo vídeo e um grande abraço, Manumbada!